Wondering whether the rose gold writing had been a mistake, I stared at the personalized welcome baby banner. Although Olivia had always preferred subtle elegance, Mother, in her boundless knowledge, now advocated extravagantness in everything. I was holding the party planner's invoice, which was a clear reminder of why I ought to have graciously refused to arrange this whole thing. I'm Clara, and I've been working hard to dispel the misconception that family commitment, UC, and professional success are incompatible for the past 15 years. Warning, my mother is still not persuaded. Caterers are here, Miss Clara, Maya said as she showed up behind me with a clipboard. They're running 20 minutes behind schedule. Of course. Another business email was demanding my attention when I looked at my watch, but it could wait. Did you confirm the floral arrangements? Everything is oak, but your mother phoned again. She is suggesting a change to the seating chart. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath as Lily's college pals approached the front. It was the seating arrangement that she had accepted and that we had arranged 3 days before. Maya gave my shoulder a little squeeze. Want me to handle it? No, I'll manage. With a sigh, I took out my phone and dialed. Mother's words, Clara, darling, were dripping with sugary sweetness. I was just thinking about the seating. There's just no way to change things now, Mother. Place cards and tables have already been prepared, per Lily's special request, which was authorized last week. Yes, I recall, she said in a contemptuous tone. I observed the venue workers carefully placing crystal centerpieces. Remember the family dinner, Mother? Oh, you mean the dinner you abandoned prematurely for that all-important conference call. Eleanor Vance's famous guilt trip was there. That call secured the Thompson account, I said. The account that's partially funding this elaborate shower you're currently attempting to micromanage. Isn't it always with the work, Clara? A baby is on the way to your sister. Would it really hurt you to put your family first for once? From the other side of the room, the venue manager gave a desperate wave. I have to leave, Mom. The seats are still in place. Before she could reply, I disconnected. Is there any problem? Maya asked. It was just the usual maternal theatrics, I said. Now what fresh hell awaits? Apparently, dessert table lighting isn't ethereal enough, Maya said in a deadpan tone. Our manager was about to have a breakdown. My phone began to vibrate as we made our way to the unfolding scenario. Mom says you're being difficult about seating, Lily texted. Could you please assist me have the best day? Perfect. With cruel irony, the word reverberated. The straight A's that were never quite good enough were flawless. Like the marketing that had no real meaning since it fell on Sunday supper, it was ideal. Just like this lavish baby shower that cost $40,000 yet nevertheless didn't live up to the hype. The lighting is fine, I told the stressed-out manager firmly. If necessary, we can adjust camera settings for the photos. Once more, my phone buzzed. It was the family lawyer, Mr. Davis, this time. Clara, your mother's on my other line regarding the venue contract. Something about last-minute alterations. I squeezed my nasal bridge. Inform her any modifications at this juncture incur significant additional charges. She insists money is no object. Of course, I secretly said. Obviously, not her money. Simply plate her. Please, we're mere hours from the event. We do, said Clara Davis, pausing before continuing. And you're doing a really good job of handling this. Do not allow anyone to downplay that. Then the phone was cut off. My chest began to throb, the same empty aching from debate titles and piano performances as a youngster, from art majors being praised and business degrees being written off. Hey, Maya's voice interrupted my daydream. You all right? I'm fine, I said, just wondering why I persist in seeking validation from those determined to misunderstand me. Simply put, because you're Clara, Maya said. You don't surrender, even when logic dictates you should. It buzzed on my phone. Aunt Claire had left a message. Mom is completely mobilized. Remember that your value surpasses their approval and go ready for war, sweetheart. I looked over the spotlessly adorned space every element painstakingly planned around client meetings and project deadlines. This space would be packed with visitors in 4 hours, and my sister's baby shower would be picture perfect. As always, as the obedient daughter, I would nod, smile, and seem as though their jabs didn't hurt. Because excellent girls do just that, don't they? My phone vibrated for the 10th time as the baby shower was in full gear. An urgent customer matter required prompt action. I hid behind an ornamental screen. I said, "Yes, I understand the urgency. I can review the contract within 20 minutes." Mother's voice cut through the commotion of the celebration. "Clara, what exactly are you doing sequestered back there?" I suddenly ended the call. "Just overseeing gift arrangements, Mother." She growled and grabbed my arm, pushing me back into the crowd, always bound to that hellish machine. "Your sister is going to start opening gifts. Your priceless job may certainly wait a little while." Lily was enthroned in a semicircle of oozing guests, dazzling on an elaborate chair that I had specially purchased. The expert lighting I'd meticulously set up, a detail that would remain unnoticed, added to her eager radiance. "There you are." Lily smiled, but it fell short of her eyes. "I was beginning to suspect you'd vanished entirely." I sat next to her and said, just managing a few last-minute details, conscious of my mother's presence. Mother let out a dramatic sigh and said, "Details, details. That's all you concern yourself with these days. Numbers and contracts, neglecting actual family." A wave of unease passed through the gathered visitors. "Shall we proceed with the presents then?" With practiced eagerness, Lily began opening presents. I surreptitiously examined my phone and saw that the increasingly agitated customer had 3 missed calls. Lily declared, "Oh, this one's from Clara," with a phony smile. I felt my gut tighten. Finding an antique silver rattle that was a perfect duplicate of the one in our grandmother's baby pictures had taken me more than a week. The velvet box was exposed as Lily tore through the paper. "Oh, it's nice, just like Grandma Margaret's," she said in a tepid tone. "Yes," I said, swiftly turned away. "Remember how Grandma always told us stories about." Mother interrupted. "Speaking of remembering, does everyone recall when Clara missed Lily's college graduation due to a crucial meeting?" There was an instant, suffocating quiet in the room. Ben, Lily's husband, squirmed uneasily in his chair and avoided looking at her. "Mother, that was years ago," I silently said, and I flew in the very next day. "And now here we are." Mother savagely continued. "At Lily's baby shower, and she still can't detach herself from that infernal phone for a single hour." "Eleanor," Aunt Claire interrupted abruptly, her tone adamantly warning. Mother, however, was unable to recognize small clues. She shouted of the captive crowd, "Does anyone actually know who orchestrated this entire shower?" "Mother, did Lily?" Lily said, her voice full of tears, "while you were too preoccupied with your important career to be bothered to assist." I looked at her in silence for a time. "Lily, I literally planned every—" "Oh, please," she said dismissively with a sniffle. "Like you do with everything, you wrote a couple checks and threw money at it. But throughout the actual planning, where were you? The late-night phone calls concerning menu tastings and color schemes?" I tried to say, "I was on those calls, Lily," but my voice raised. "I carefully planned them to coincide with your availability. Do you recall?" Every week, Ben tried to step in and say, "Ladies," but his mother hushed him with a scathing glance. Mother told the gathering, "Your sister is having a baby," her voice shaking with fake sorrow. A miracle. A fresh start. However, I guess whatever urgent issue is occupying her on that phone is just more important than that. That was the exact time my phone buzzed once again. At this point, the client was threatening legal action. I said, "I need to take this," and got up. "It is important." "More important than family?" Lily's tone faltered. "More important than me." Every visitor was a voyeur, a witness at my public unraveling, and the room was completely quiet. "You know what?" Snatching my handbag, I said, "Yes, this call is more crucial at the moment. because this call truly matters to individuals who appreciate my time and my skills. Unlike this shower, which I meticulously planned, paid for, and am seemingly getting no credit for. The room echoed with gasps. Mother's expression darkened to a frightening purple. You dare, following everything that we have done for you. Everything you've done for me? I gave a sour laugh. Mother, please educate me. Was it the unrelenting criticism? The constant Lily comparisons? The skillfully used guilt trips? At my elbow, Maya appeared. She said, "Maybe we ought to go outside, Clara." "No need," I informed them. "I'm heading out. Lily, enjoy the rest of your shower, as is responsible for paying for the venue. Don't allow your mother tell you that I also wrecked this." I pivoted quickly on my heel and strode to the door. Lily's face twisted in a new wave of rage as I walked by. She spat before I realized what she was trying to say. My cheek was covered in sickeningly moist saliva. Everyone in the room gasped. After a brief moment of hesitation, I resumed my stroll. I could hear Lily's hiccuping cries and my mother's dramatic sobs behind me. I heard Aunt Claire's words just before the doors closed. "Well, Eleanor, I genuinely hope that you're at last content. This time, you've really beyond yourself." Before the tears eventually broke, I made it to my car. However, a peculiar sensation of peace descended upon me as I sat there and watched the venue personnel start to take down the well-planned facade of joy. The buzzing of my phone came again, but this time I felt resolution rather than dread. I sat behind the wheel for exactly 3 minutes, letting the first rush of excitement wear off. My hands were still. "Davis, it's Claire Vance, about that contingency plan we discussed. The one you were so certain we'd never actually need to implement." He sounded aware at once. "Clara, what in heaven's name has transpired?" When I said, "They finally pushed too far. Execute Plan B in its entirety." "Clara," he said. He paused. "Do you have complete certainty? This is extreme. Do they think I just write checks, as Lily so beautifully put it? Let me explain exactly what that means." I hung up and called the venue manager, Sophia, right away. "Sophia, regarding those payment arrangements we previously discussed." "Of course, Miss Vance. Everything is prepared precisely as requested." "Great. Put all the adjustments into effect right now." Maya texted me, causing my phone to ding. "Pearl, Holy Mother, they're still fighting. Now that you left her on her big day, Lily is crying. With conviction worthy of an Oscar, your mother is holding court like a martyred queen." For the first time in hours, I grinned broadly and texted back, "Give it 20 minutes." The calls that followed were swift, effective, and, taken as a whole, absolutely devastating. Every interaction with the caterer, bartender, photographer, and entertainment provider was a master class in professional distance and contractual duty. "Everything's in motion," said Davis. "Are you truly resolute in this course of action, Clara?" I started the engine and responded, "They want to talk about money. Let us then engage in a comprehensive discussion of finances." I noticed Aunt Claire rushing out of the venue door as I pulled away of the parking spot. She hurried over when she saw my automobile. I rolled a window down. "Aunt Claire, whatever you're envisioning, multiply it by tenfold." "Oh, Clara," she said. "How significant is the fallout in there?" Mother's elevated it to a full-blown Greek tragedy. "Lily is now convinced," she said, naturally, "that I have permanently destroyed her life. Ben appears to be considering a calculated move to Antarctica." Claire's aunt asked, her brows furrowed with fear and interest, "What exactly have you provoked, Claire?" My response was, "Nothing they haven't inadvertently requested," and I showed her the specific emails. You know, my mother constantly praised my mathematical prowess. It's time to show off that specific skill set in its entirety. Aunt Claire looked across the screen, her eyes widening. "Oh my God, Clara, this is perfectly legal, isn't it?" "Definitely so. Everything is well documented. All agreements and contracts are in my name." I put the vehicle in drive. They want to imply that I just carelessly scatter cash around. Excellent. They could now notice that certain resource is no longer available. And where are you headed in the midst of this family implosion? Aunt Claire, the spa. I grinned and said, I have a massage appointment scheduled. I did, after all, prepay for it. I watched the following phases of the pandemonium play out via the venue's windows as I withdrew. Sophia will soon be announcing her plans. Individual payments would suddenly be necessary for the open bar. The photographer would be packing up his gear in a covered manner. With the utmost civility, the caterers would stop serving, and the carefully calculated invoices would be given to every visitor who had witnessed my humiliation. Notifications flooded my phone, a virtual choir of imminent family disintegration. I let the messages play after pairing it with the car's Bluetooth. Clara, what in God's name is happening? Lily's tone faltered. The venue, they're demanding immediate payment. I erased. Clara Elizabeth Vance, you answer this infernal device immediately. The voice of mother screamed. Delete. Hello, Clara. This is Ben. Look, I get that things got a little heated during the shower, but... Delete. Maya texted. Your mom tried to charge her platinum card with the full amount owed, but it was denied. Oh my God. A huge evacuation is being organized by Lily's college contingent. This is far, far better than Netflix. Feeling lighter than I have in years, I pulled into the spa parking lot. With a calm grin, the receptionist welcomed me. Greetings, Miss Vance. Your own retreat is ready for you. I said, thank you, and gave her my phone. Could you please keep this for me? For the next 2 hours, I expect a rather high amount of calls that I would rather ignore. Naturally, Miss Vance, while you relax, may I possibly pique your curiosity in our wine list? I said, please do, and followed her to the promise of sweet sleep. Another text message from Davis arrived as I stepped into the quiet seclusion of the apartment. All of the bills have been distributed. Now your mom is trying to get in touch with the venue owner herself. Do I need to run interference? No, I replied by typing. Let her try to find her way through that specific maze. Direct, unmediated experience is the best way to learn some lessons. My tense nerves were calmed by the sound of fake waterfalls as I changed into the opulent spa robe. One more beep on my phone. Another message from Aunt Claire. Darling, your mother's face when she got the bab frame was so precious. This magnificent setup is well worth the investment. However, was burning the bridge completely inevitable? As I was chastised for not being more family-oriented, I thought about the decades of unrelenting criticism, the casual diminishment, and the eternal role of familial ATM. Some bridges, I said with determination, simply demand combustion to illuminate perhaps what lies on the other side of the wreckage. After that, I turned off my phone, ordered a glass of champagne, and was ready to enjoy every beautiful, guilt-free second of my well-earned retaliation. I had written the check, after all. While my phone gathered an ever-increasing amount of desperate texts, the massage therapist's expert hands relieved 15 years of accumulated family-induced strain off my shoulders. There were 2 lovely, unbroken hours of stillness in the locker room. The receptionist's face was a mixture of pity and laughter when I eventually came out. Miss Vance, you've been using your phone a lot. Innumerable texts and 37 missed calls. None were really nice, I suppose. In private, she gave the gadget to me. The most recent voicemail was really loud. I think it has to do with financial terrorism. I read through the long list of progressively frantic texts. The last message came from Mom, who was screaming in fear. Clara Elizabeth Vance, the venue is requesting that you pay for everything right away. Apparently, Lily's companions were supposed to cover the cost of their own beverages. The photographer took all the pictures and just walked away. All the food was packed up by the caterers. What on earth have you done, Clara? With a calm grin, I erased it and called Maya. Her first response was, "You are an absolute legend," and she burst out laughing. Clara, I wish you could have seen it for myself. With the venue manager, your mother really tried to play the "Do you know who I am" card. Sophia only continued to point to the contracts, clearly showing your signature. "And Lily?" I asked, taking a glass of water with cucumber in it. "And Lily?" I asked, taking a glass of water with cucumber in it. As expected, she sobbed. When the bar tab was presented to her, her college pals really left her in the middle of her tantrum. "Would you agree that this is a true monument to the enduring connections of friendship?" "Indeed," I whispered. "Any other casualties?" "Oh, just as your mother was showing off the beautiful cupcakes she had diligently selected, the ones she loudly boasted about setting up for her group of church friends. They were packed up and taken out of the building. Perfect timing, in fact." My phone buzzed, signaling that Davis had called again. "Clara Vance speaking." "Clara," he said without introduction, "your mother is now threatening legal action." "For what precisely is her legal grievance?" "For my tardy in paying for services rendered and subsequently exercising my contractual right to withdraw said services," I said. Let her grasp at straws. "Indeed," he said, laughing. "The total in the end is significant. It comes to almost $288,000, which they are now completely responsible for paying, including the remaining venue costs, the bar, photographer cancellation penalties, and the outstanding food amount, and the ability to send. All of your mother's credit cards are fully charged. Lily too, I suppose." "Not my concern," I said, getting up to get my things. "In fact, Franklin, or rather Ben, has been quite sensible. He has offered to work out a payment schedule." "Decline it," I said. "They want to manage things on their own, free from my intervention. Now let them enjoy the benefits of freedom to the fullest." Once more, my phone buzzed. "You have instigated quite the scandal, darling," said Aunt Claire. "Half the country club will be dissecting this for months to come." "Great," I said as I stepped outside into the refreshing evening breeze, feeling incredibly free. "Perhaps they'll reconsider inviting Mother to plan their future events." As expected, Lily is a complete mess. Claims that you have permanently wrecked her memory and ruined her baby shower. I added a substantially nasty gratuity to my spa bill and said that's infinitely preferable compared to allowing her to continue ruining the rest of my life. And Mom. How is this karmic donation being received by Eleanor? I've already started reaching out to all of my acquaintances in a desperate attempt to get loans. So yet, no takers. Her credit history isn't exactly as spotless as she makes it seem. "Any regrets, Clara?" With a hint of worry in her light-hearted tone, Aunt Claire asked. "Only that I neglected to record the entire spectacle for posterity," I said. Aunt Claire gave a laugh. "Yes, but when I presented the Bab frame, I was able to get a rather striking picture of your mother's face. Worthy, really." I saw another text on my phone, this one from Ben. "Clara, can we talk? Just the two of us? Apologies are long needed, in my opinion." I said, "Interesting timing." "What will you do now, Clara?" Aunt Claire asked. I adjusted the rearview mirror and slipped into my car. The lady who was reflected back appeared lighter and more liberated. "I'm heading home, Aunt Claire. I plan to enjoy the quiet as I order takeaway from that new Thai restaurant. They want to talk about money. They can talk about it now. What about tomorrow? I'll be the accomplished professional lady they love to critique again tomorrow. They will only have a more sophisticated grasp of exactly what it means this time." My phone kept up its ceaseless chorus of calls and messages as I drove home. Every notice stood for someone who had seen my humiliation in public and was now frantically demanding that I step in. Each would go unanswered because sometimes teaching people the worth of something they have always taken for granted is a more effective kind of retaliation than simply obtaining parity. A digital flood of 12 voicemails and 53 unread messages greeted Monday morning. After quickly deleting them all, I entered my workplace as if it were just another day, which it was. Olivia smiled knowingly and offered me coffee. In a casual tone, she said, "Your mother called the office 6 times before 9 o'clock a.m. Any other calls of note?" Taking the heavenly coffee, I asked. The Thompson contract is now formally signed. The confirmed time for the merger meeting is 2:00 p.m. Additionally, Ben, your sister's husband, dropped by earlier and asked for an urgent business meeting. I was given a folder by Olivia. I informed him you were in meetings for the duration of the day. The name of Eleanor Vance flashed on the caller ID as my office phone came to life. "Your mother again," whispered Olivia. "Let it ring," I said as I propped myself up in my chair and turned on my computer. With scarcely contained joy, Maya exploded through the door, and she said, "Spill everything. How did the spa go? Have you given in to the allure of social media yet?" The spa had a transformational effect. I slept well. And no, I'm studiously avoiding any internet interaction with the disintegration of my family. Maya objected, holding out her phone. "Oh, but you really shouldn't," she said. "The neighborhood Facebook group is experiencing a complete collapse due to your mother's church contingent. It seems like you have permanently ruined the baby shower's sacredness." "And Lily?" As I braced myself, I asked. Lily shared 3 carefully chosen selfies with tears on them. It says, "When your own sister betrays you on your special day." For more intensity, use 3 sobbing emojis. It buzzed on my phone. "Aunt Claire, your mother is convening an emergency family meeting this evening," she said. "She's trying to turn the tide against you." "Good luck to her," I whispered. I suspect most of the troops are currently rather heavily indebted to my war chest. "Indeed," Aunt Claire said with a laugh. "Ben has been making pointed inquiries regarding the business side of things." "Interesting timing, considering Lily's rather substantial credit card payment is due today," I said. Aunt Claire said, "That's not all," in a hushed voice. "Your mother has been calling everyone, desperately attempting to refinance the Vance family homestead." Maya's eyes widened as she looked up. "Oh my God." "Clara, in the comments area of Lily's most recent post. Her college pals are openly dissecting your mother. The last straw was the garish cash bar." Once again, my office phone lit up. It was your sister. Olivia said, "Still unavailable, I presume." Over the intercom. "Indefinitely." I gave my signature. "Eleanor is now threatening to compose a formal letter of complaint to your board of directors regarding your unethical business practices," she stated. "And Claire's side of the board?" I chuckled. "The same board that values my unethical ability to consistently close multi-million-dollar deals." "Desperate measures," said Aunt Claire. "Great," I said, observing a steadily growing number of texts from Ben. Perhaps they are beginning to grasp the distinction between being family and being valued solely for one's readily accessible financial contributions. Mina was sitting on my desk. "Ben has been actively interacting with your LinkedIn professional accomplishments, each and every post, blatantly trying to win you over. Control of damage. Senior partners at his legal firm are keen observers of your career path." Another text message from Davis buzzed through my phone. "Lily is now trying to dispute the venue charges with her credit card company. As expected, things are not going well. Once more your mother," Olivia said. I hit the intercom button in frustration. "Hold all calls, Olivia, unless they are specifically related to the Thompson merger. And please let Ben know that I have a busy schedule through next month and the urgent family meeting this evening if he tries to stop by again." Aunt Cedalay asked. I completely deadpan. "I have a previously scheduled dinner engagement with prospective clients," in response. "Eleanor is now propagating the narrative that you have turned your back on family in their hour of acute need," Aunt CLA said. "No," I said. "I have abandoned the place where I am continuously undervalued and financially taken advantage of like a personal bank. There is a rather important difference." Maya laughed and snorted. "When money counts more than precious family relationships," along with 3 more sobbing emojis, is Lily's most recent social media statement. "Interesting." Unmoved, I muttered. "It's interesting that family ties only seem to take on a greater relevance when they are in need of something, notably a large quantity of my money." Once more, Olivia buzzed through. All three lines are currently being held by your mother. Should I tell her that you've suddenly become extremely dislikeful of all technological communication? Exactly, I said, getting up. Now is the time to start doing real work that can be billed and generate income. Any more calls pertaining to family should be routed straight to voicemail. And for the emergency family meeting this evening, I said, looking at Aunt CLA, please let them know that I am unable to go because I am throwing money at my portfolio, my profession, and Maya. After all, I can prove that I'm quite good at it. More incoming texts appeared on my phone as I strolled into the executive meeting room. We need to talk about Lily's credit score, Ben and Clara. It's disastrous. Remove. This conduct is very inappropriate, Mother. We brought you up better than this, Clara. Remove. The bank phoned about the venue payment, Lily. We really need your assistance, please. Remove. At the lift, Maya came up to me. Clara, you know they'll keep trying. They are just not wired to understand the concept of no. I said, let them persist, and entered the elevator. They want to analyze why I put my work above my family. Well, they will now see firsthand what that line of work offers, and it must be extraordinary if they are able to come up with a sincere apology. The commotion I was leaving behind was essentially sealed off as the elevator doors slid shut, because I had all the leverage this time, and I planned to utilize it with the same merciless efficiency that I used to handle every other element of my painstakingly planned existence. Their bills were not going to be paid this time. My folks would never have understood the multi-million-dollar Thompson contract that awaited completion upstairs, until now, when they were in dire need of the cash. It stood for 3 days of stillness that lasted for a week. The frantic attempts at communication from my family were increasingly inventive every day. Mother even attempted to send my office a singing telegram. Maya remarked, "You have to admit that was a bold move," at lunch. The board laughed heartily. "Talking about daring actions," she said, sliding her phone across the table. "Check your aunt's latest update." Mother was seen in the picture standing next to a "for sale" sign outside the house where I grew up. It said, "Sometimes pride costs more than money." Subtle, I secretly said. Maya went on. "Ben's been asking around about job openings at other firms. Apparently, his partners aren't thrilled about the baby shower drama reaching their clients." When my phone rang, it was Davis. He continued, "Your mother's here in my office," without introducing himself. "They want to talk about payment options for the shower charges with Lily. Lily is grieving at the effects on her credit. Clara, it's not my concern." He spoke more softly. "They're in a dire situation. Your mom is discussing filing for bankruptcy. Funny how money mattered now. Aunt Claire texted me to let me know that Eleanor was selling her antique collection, which she always said you weren't sophisticated enough to inherit. I said to Davis, tell them I'm in meetings. They've been here for 3 hours. Then they can leave 3 hours wiser." Olivia buzzed my office phone, and I hung up. "Ben here again, says it's urgent." I hesitated for the first time in a week. Send him in. Ben didn't seem like the polished lawyer who had watched me be humiliated. Instead, he appeared worn out and disheveled. I replied, 2 minutes, before he could say anything more. "Lily's a mess," he said, staying upright. "Your mom is trying to sell everything. We don't have any credit. I'm probably going off course with my partnership. Sounds like consequences." "Look," he said, stroking his hair. "I acknowledge our error. At the baby shower, I'd ought to have raised my voice. You were taken for granted by all of us. That's one way to put it. The baby's nursery is causing Lily to have panic episodes. We are unable to obtain fresh credit card approval. Still not hearing a point." I saw a picture of Lily curled up on their couch, obviously upset, as he took out his phone. "She's your sister, Clara." I got to my feet. What about the time they made fun of me in public? When they disregarded years of assistance? When they cheerfully spent my money and labeled me cold and cunning? We were wrong. "No," I said as I made my way to the window. "You were all comfortable taking and taking, while giving nothing but criticism in return. I pointed to the metropolis that stretched out below us. How's that working out for you? The baby's due in 4 months. I'm aware. I canceled the crib delivery yesterday. His cell rang. Lily was phoning. He disregarded it. Quietly, he stated, "Your mother's house is in pre-foreclosure. She has choices. She might phone all of her actual family members to compare me to, or she could sell her vacation timeshare or fancy purses. Please, Clara." Pleads what? Help them out, Ben. Make another check. Return to becoming the ATM that the family may critique in between withdrawals. Olivia buzzed once more. Your sister and mother just entered the lobby. Informed security not to release them. Then moved in closer. There. I apologize, but no. They have no money. There is a distinction. So, what would you like? How can this be resolved? I looked him in the face. What precisely should be fixed? The bond they never appreciated? The assistance they assumed was normal? The accomplishment they resented? Once more, his phone buzzed. This time it was Mother. When I said, "You should go," sounds like they need you. No, Clara. They need my money. They were also beginning to realize that they were not the same thing for the first time. He started toward the door, then stopped. To be fair, I have always respected your perseverance and accomplishments. Lily felt envious. There was a threat against your mother. They're afraid of losing more than just money today. He went out, and I saw him join Mother and Lily in the parking lot from the window of my office. They crowded together, most likely planning their next reconciliation effort. Aunt CLA texted me on my phone, saying, "Dear, they're breaking. Are you prepared for what will happen when they do?" I didn't respond. Rather, I accessed the baby store website where Lily had created an account. Every item on her wish list, even the silver rattle she rejected, was in my basket. All of their issues would be resolved with a single click. I shut down the web browser. Some lessons are more expensive than money, and this one is still in progress. 2 weeks after the baby shower, at precisely 9:00 p.m., I heard a tap on my apartment door. Before I looked through the peephole, I knew who it was. Wearing the beat-up college hoodie she'd never been willing to part with, Lily stood there by herself without makeup. I said, "You look terrible," and I opened the door. She moved aside and said, "Can I come in?" while protectively clutching her baby belly. She took a seat on my couch, seeming tiny next to the contemporary furnishings she had before referred to as lifeless. Still whispering, "Mom doesn't know I'm here," she whispered. "She certainly does. Most likely, she's waiting in the car." "No, I mean it," Lily said face to face. "I used an Uber. Ben is attempting to keep his job during a partner meeting. I didn't move. What do you want, Lily?" Her voice broke as she said, "I located the shower receipts. Each and every one. I needed to know even if Mom had thrown them away." Tears filled her eyes as she swallowed forcefully. $47,000. She wiped her tears and muttered, "Not counting the gifts you bought, the ones you spent months picking out. Is this the part where I'm supposed to feel appreciated because you finally looked at the price tag?" "No," she said, touching her abdomen. "I'm going to admit that I'm afraid now. Very frightened. There is nothing we can afford for the infant. I have used all of my credit cards. Ben is being placed on probation by his employer. The house is being lost by Mom. Sounds rough. I deserve that." She took her phone out. "But take a look at this. Take a peek." She displayed pictures from the shower to me. The things I've been fascinated with, like the hand-calligraphed place cards, the carefully placed flowers, and the special lighting that made everyone seem flawless, were visible in every picture before everything came apart. "You did all this," she said quietly, "while closing the Thompson deal, while handling the merger, while I complained about you not being there for tastings. Your point?" "My point is," she said, standing awkwardly due to her expectant tummy, "I was jealous. It has always been. You made your achievements in career seem so effortless. Even organizing the ideal baby shower looked like a piece of cake. It wasn't." I muttered. She said, "I know that now. as she approached my window and gazed at the city lights. Mom is a complete disaster. Her reputation, her credit, and her standing are all gone. She was really kicked out of the country club. It's tragic. Lily turned back to face me, saying, "She deserves it. Everyone did. We pretended that you weren't suitable for the family while treating you like a bank, the same household you have been providing for many years." It buzzed on my phone. Lily made the move at last, and it was Aunt Claire. "How are things going?" "Why are you here, Lily?" I asked outright. "Because I'm having a baby." She put her hand on her bump. "A young girl. Furthermore, I don't want her to grow up believing that treating others the way we treated you is acceptable. I don't want her to learn that achievement is a bad thing or that money is more important than integrity." Pretty words. She moved in closer, her eyes beseeching. "I'm not asking for money," she said. "I'm requesting an opportunity to be a better sister. My daughter's better aunt. I want to know whether there's still time to start afresh. And mother. She'll have to figure out her own way back, if there is one." I looked at her face, the worry lines that had not been there before, the black bags beneath her eyes. "The silver rattle," I murmured without warning. "What?" "You rejected the shower present. Are you aware of my reasoning?" She gave a headshake. "When we were babies, Grandma Margaret used it to calm you and me. Do you recall how she used to tell us that it was the only thing that could help you relax during thunderstorms?" Tears flooded Lily's eyes. I didn't even give it a close look. I was too preoccupied with attempting to harm you. Well, it worked. "I'm so sorry, Clara." She made a move for my hand. "For everything. For years of everything." After letting her hold my hand for a while, I withdrew. "Sorry doesn't fix credit scores." "I know." She walked over to the door. "But maybe it's a start." I spoke as she went for the handle, the rattle still in my closet. Hope flickered over her face as she turned. "I'm not saying I forgive you," I said, softening my tone, "but perhaps we could discuss the baby. About beginning anew. Genuinely beginning anew. Don't make me regret it." She nodded, her eyes now streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you." I emailed Aunt CLA after she went, saying, "Lily just left. She arrived by herself, so perhaps there is a chance that one bridge won't burn entirely." "What about Eleanor?" I looked at the family photo that is still on my shelf. It was shot years ago, when family was important and success was nothing. I texted back that certain bridges must remain in ashes. My niece's little fingers clasped around the silver rattle, catching the early light. Fortunately, she didn't have her mother's disposition, but she did have her eyes. From the hospital bed, Lily remarked, "Since you gave it to her, she hasn't cried once." It is unbelievable to the nurses. It's a magic rattle, as Grandma Margaret correctly said. I rearranged the infant's blanket. Magic rattle. Ben came in with coffee and appeared more at ease than he has in months. After he accepted full responsibility for his role in the shower incident, his employer retained him. Apparently, humility made a big difference. Quietly, he murmured, "Your mother's in the lobby." Lily moaned again. "Did you tell her security's keeping her there?" He gave me a cup. "Your call, Clara." It buzzed on my phone. Aunt CLA was there. "Downstairs. Eleanor is causing quite a stir. Something regarding the rights of grandmothers." "Let her be." As I watched my niece fall asleep, I answered. It had been a study in repercussions for the last 3 months. In fact, Mother had lost her home and had to move into a tiny apartment that made her social circle laugh. In order to mend the harm created by familial turmoil and financial hardship, Lily and Ben had begun marriage therapy, and I had developed the ability to establish limits. I put down my coffee and said to Lily, "The trust fund is set up, but the conditions stand." She gave a nod. "We keep separate holidays. We don't talk to Mother until she finishes therapy, and we don't access the money until we've had financial counseling." She gave a sorrowful grin. "No more compelled family get-togethers." The infant made the little sounds that newborns make when they stir. Ben handed me his phone after taking a picture of Mother pacing the lobby and making crazy gestures at the medical workers. She will always be the same, Lily remarked quietly. No, but we did. I concurred. Messages from the family group chat that I had never left filled my phone. Rachel, a cousin. Eleanor's message on her inability to meet her grandchild. Uncle Paul. Shall we explain to her that restraining orders don't operate that way? Aunt Claudia. The cost of the therapy sessions is covered. She has decided not to go. I turned off the conversation to concentrate on the infant. She possessed Ben's chin, Lily's nose, and, ideally, none of the family's gift for manipulating emotions. I've been considering names, Lily repositioned herself. Please let me know that Eleanor Jr. is not on your radar. No. She and Ben looked at each other. Margaret was on our minds, following Grandma. The baby moved, and the rattle clinked quietly. Eventually, I responded, she'd like that. Lily paused. You should be her godmother, we said. Are you certain? I may be overly preoccupied with my ruthless, analytical job. Ben sat on the side of the bed and stated, that's why we want you. She needs to learn that success isn't a sign of weakness. We saw a disturbance outdoors. Through the door came Mother's voice. I insist on seeing my grandchild. Security reacted in a flash. As she objected, we saw through the glass as they escorted her out, her fancy counterfeit bag swinging madly. You know what's depressing? Lily held young Margaret in her arms. She may be present at this very moment. She only needed to seek assistance. Pride is more important to some people than peace. I picked up the rattle, which reflected our little group on its silver surface. However, it is no longer an issue for us. It was the final buzzing of my phone. Davis was the one. Davis. Eleanor is making threats to challenge the restraining order once more. Let her, I typed in response. When you have already won the war, certain battles are not worth winning. Lily put her hand on my arm. I'm grateful. Not just for the baby stuff or the trust fund, Ben clarified. For providing us with the opportunity to improve. Better. Margaret yawned, oblivious to the familial drama that was going on all around her. She would learn about a different type of love as a child, one that was free of costs and restrictions. Want to hold her once more? Lily inquired. With my niece's warm weight resting on my chest, I took her. I rocked her as the rattle chimed quietly. Grandma Margaret used to say something about family, I remarked. That it has nothing to do with blood. When the money is gone and the masks are off, it's about who stays. That makes sense, Ben remarked. She was. Margaret's eyelids fluttered shut as I watched. She would be happy of us for finally understanding what true family means, not for our wealth or success. Mother's automobile left just tire marks and her damaged ego when it pulled out of the hospital parking lot. However, fresh beginnings sprang within this space as the silver rattle caught the sunshine. Everything we required was here. There are instances when the family you chose is superior to the one you were born into. The best retaliation isn't always retaliation at all. It's about letting go, living well, and loving better.